just a moment.
This has been sitting somewhere between number 5 and number 2047 on my backlog list, and I randomly started playing it during a recent Twitch stream. Not only did I go over the time I said I would play this, but when the stream was over, I went to sleep, woke up, and started playing it again the next day. I was hooked. From the mind of Lucas Pope, the same guy behind Papers, Please, Return of the Obra Dinn has you take the role of an insurance inspection agent from the East India Company's office in London in the 1800s. I'll give you a moment to catch your breath from the excitement overload in that last sentence. And we're good. A ship called the Obra Dinn, which went missing in 1803, is discovered 4 years later off the coast of Falmouth, England. You board the ship with a book and pocket watch given by a man who has fallen ill and can't finish detailing what happened to the ship and its crew, leaving it to you to fill in the many blank pages before sending it back to him. The pocket watch allows you to go back in time to a 3D freeze frame depicting the fate of one or more crew members before going to the book and saying who the crew member was, how they died, and if applicable, who killed them. There are roughly 60 people to do this with, and the clues range from the obvious, such as a scene where someone's name or rank is called out, to more subtle hints, such as the dialect a person speaks in, or the things they're depicted doing in the background of other important events. Other times there are next to no clues for someone's identity, and you have to figure out who they are by process of elimination. It's like the ghost ship version of Guess Who, but instead of asking if someone has a beard or wears glasses, you ask if they have a Scottish accent or got eaten by sharks. It could easily get confusing trying to keep track of the various hints for who some people are, but the game keeps a running log of the different memories everyone appears in and allows bookmarking and jumping between them to make things easier. It also keeps people's faces blurred until enough hints have dropped to potentially figure out who they are. Granted, you could just guess their identities, how they died, and who or what killed them right away, but I'm assuming you'd want to actually finish this game at some point. Speaking of, the pace of the game can be a bit rough to deal with at times. There are several instances where you'll see one memory and it will immediately lead into a new one, and that one will lead directly into a new one, and so on. It's easy to get caught up in jumping from one memory to another, and suddenly you have a dozen people you apparently have enough info on to say who they are, but you were so caught up in the events that you have to backtrack to figure them out. If not for the bookmarking and the memory logs, as well as the game acknowledging when you get 3 people's names and fates right and taking them off of the crew list, this would be a significant problem. As is, it's a minor annoyance. Complicating things is that the game tells the sequence of events out of order. Seeing someone's death and then encountering them in another dozen events is commonplace. However, the things this ship went through run the gamut from typical sea shenanigans resulting in death, to apparently angering every ocean deity from every mythos. Odysseus himself would look at the things this crew went through and feel sorry for them. Well, some of them. The game's visual style is based on old single-bit computer games. How old? Well, you can change the color scheme to those of Macintosh and IBM computer monitors from the late 70s and early 80s. However, everything was rendered to work in a 3D environment. This was an experiment on Pope's part, one which initially caused motion sickness in some players, but it worked fine after a few tweaks and resulted in an unmistakable look, complemented by an orchestral soundtrack that knows just when to chime in and when to let the ambiance speak for itself. Lucas Pope made a more memorable world with 2 colors than most game developers can pull off with thousands. Showing any footage of this game is tough because so much of it is either a spoiler or giving away the answer to a puzzle. That said, if you've seen enough of my videos, you know that I usually don't bother avoiding spoilers unless I'm talking about a game I like. And I like Return of the Obra Dinn. At times, the mystery aspect reminded me of one of the earliest PC games I ever played, an adaptation of the Sherlock Holmes board game 221B Baker Street. And unlike the schlocky trash mystery games that devolve into scavenger hunts or nonsensical puzzles, I actually felt a sense of accomplishment figuring out who everyone was and what was going on. particularly since there's a bonus chapter that opens up after identifying everyone's fates. And as you might guess, that takes some time. Return of the Obra Dinn is not the kind of thing you'll complete in one sitting. One day maybe, but not one sitting. That, along with everything else I've mentioned earlier, is why even though the replay value is pretty limited, I still recommend it even at full price, which in this case is $20 US. Think of it this way, $20 is way less than whatever the East India Company lost from this ship.